Hey there, friend. Have you ever sat next to your fearful dog and thought, I just want them to know that they're safe. I want them to know that I mean them no harm without making things worse. And if so, you're not alone and you're not really doing it wrong. Here's the thing. We are a touchy-feely kind of species, us humans, but dogs, not so much. And when we lead with touch and petting and affection, especially with a fearful dog, it can feel more like pressure than connection. So in this episode, I'm sharing 3 unexpected ways to bond with your dog without laying a hand on them. Because closeness isn't the same as consent, and it isn't built with treats or pets. Let's build it with presence. And if you're ready, let's get into it. Ready to have a calm and peaceful life with your dog without the stress of those fear-based behaviors? Hi, I'm Tracy, and I've been there, overwhelmed by all the conflicting dog training advice and unsure of what to do next. But now I help dog lovers like you simplify your life with your dog by building confidence naturally, fostering trust, and addressing those fear-based challenges. So, if you're ready, stop chopping those chicken wieners and let's get to it. Hey there, friend. I just wanted to give you a friendly reminder that if your dog offers you up a behavior and you don't like it, but you say nothing and you do nothing, you've essentially agreed with the behavior. And I know that is sometimes hard to wrap our head around, but this is one of the reasons why behaviors that we don't want keep happening. And hey, it happens to everybody. I remember the time that I came home and my Doberman was standing on the counter eating butter. And I was just like staring at her thinking, what is actually even happening right now? But listen, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that we sometimes get into analysis paralysis. We sit there and are like, am I supposed to redirect? Am I supposed to correct? What am I supposed to do here? And if you've ever felt yourself stuck like that, I get it. And this is why I want to invite you to join me and an amazing group of people inside the Fearless Framework. It's my 12-month online program where you're going to learn when you should butt in and when you should butt out. You're going to have a deeper understanding of communication and how dogs like to live simplistically. It's actually easier than you think, but you don't have to do it alone. Come on over, join us today, beyondobedience.ca/fearless. I'll see you there. Well, hello, my dog-loving friend. It is Tracy. Welcome to Beyond Obedience, the podcast. Super duper welcome. If you're brand new, hey, nice to meet you. Glad you're here. All right, today on the podcast, I wanted to talk about something very special to me, this idea of how we can effectively bond and connect with our dogs. And not just with our dogs, not just with any dog, but with fearful dogs. You know that I have a deep love and affection for fearful dogs. I was just coasting through some memories, Facebook memories, and honestly, I was trying to figure out how old Levi was, if I'm being honest. If you haven't heard Levi's story, Levi is a little black lab mix that I've had for, I don't know, 1,000,000 years. Like... Feels like 1,000,000 years. I've had this dog for a long time. No idea how old he is. No idea. I mean, he runs around like he's 2, but he's gray like he's 40. So who knows? Who knows how old he is? But when Levi first came to me, and this is obviously long before I had ended up adopting him, I was just doing board and train. Not really. I wasn't even doing a board and train. I was actually just boarding him. And he was incredibly fearful. One of the most fearful feral-like dogs we had ever had at the facility. And it was an emergency situation. No one else could take him, blah, blah, blah. You know, I'm sure you've heard it before. If you've heard this story, stop me. Anyway, one of the things was that he was terrified of people, loved dogs, terrified of people. And so we had to do a lot of really creative ways to be able to get Levi to get like Levi in his run, get Levi out of the play yard. And if you saw him if you saw him out with the other dogs, you would have never guessed. You would just be like, who's that happy-go-lucky little guy that's just running around with everybody? Because he loved the dogs. But he really, really struggled with people. Couldn't stand couldn't stand people. So, and because we didn't have an opportunity to really get to know him, he was dropped off here and his mom had to leave. She had an emergency. And I remember, spending this time where like we couldn't get anywhere near him. Could not get anywhere near him. Kind of a fun story because he bonded with my dog Rue, who happens to be an Australian Shepherd, and we would get her to go and herd him back into the facility for us when it was time to bring the dogs in. We'd send her out. We would like, go get Levi, and she would, and he'd come running in, following her, and all that stuff. Anyway, the reason why I say all of this is because when I was sort of trying to find some info on how old he was, I came across a really old video of when I was still working with him, and I was just really impressed because he came near me, and I was like, oh, he came near me. And I remember actually a moment where I was sitting on the bench and all the dogs were playing, and normally I'd gotten to the point where I literally had gotten really good at ignoring him. And I'm just kind of watching. Before I know it, I look over at the corner of my eye, and I notice that Levi is sitting on the same bench as me, and not close enough to touch. Almost close enough to, like he was like just out of range, but he was sitting next to me. And I remember having this like, oh my. The thing that sticks out the most to me was my I'm going to say unnatural, but it obviously is natural, but my absolute urge and need to reach out. Like I had this urge to be like, oh, let me touch you. Like, like you've been living with me for a very long time and I really need to touch you now. Like really bizarre. And I had to, like, I remember sitting on my hands, like just sitting on my hands being like, don't touch that dog. Don't touch that dog. Don't touch that dog. And I didn't. And, spoiler alert, then he became my dog, and now he loves his whole face being rubbed. So, but that got me thinking to maybe sharing again this concept of 3 unexpected ways to bond with a fearful dog that doesn't include touch, right? That's nice, right? Because you don't actually have to touch a dog to bond with them. Here's the reality of it. The reality of it is that we humans, we are touchy-feely. Like we like to touch things. That's how we explore things. That's how we express ourselves. So much is involved in our hands, right? As my mentor Nelson explained, like we're hand-eye dominant, right? That's what we rely on, hand-eye dominant. Whereas dogs are nose, mouth dominant, right? They see the world through their nose and they explore the world through their mouth, right? So a little bit of a disconnect there for us. It's really, really challenging for us humans to not want to touch a dog, right? That's why we were all taught to stick our hands out and like get dogs to smell us. And I like to call that fist bumping dogs in the face. It makes no sense to them. And as a result, we end up, inadvertently breaking trust very, very quickly. So I wanted to share sort of 3 unexpected ways to bond without touch with a fearful dog. So this is really a handy tip if you're someone who has a brand new dog, you've adopted a new dog that's maybe a little bit unsure, or if you're someone who fosters dogs. This is something that, you can, it's like a little cheat sheet you can keep in your back pocket. And the thing that you're going to find is you will connect quicker and with a much more deeper bond of trust if you follow these things. All right, so let's jump into it. What's number 1? Number 1, we're going to call shared orientation. In other words, look where they're looking, right? When the dog notices something, notice it too. What we tend to do is we tend to stare at our dogs. Right? We tend to look at them. They see something, we're like, what are you looking at? We look at the dog. We don't actually go, oh, and then look at what they're looking at. So rather try not to stare at the dog, but instead look where they're looking. Looking where they're looking is building a partnership. And it shows them right then and there that they're not alone, right? That you have this vibe of, I see it too, and therefore I'm with you, which is lovely. Absolutely lovely. So if you can find ways to orient with your dog, whatever it is they're doing, let's look over there. And again, no pressure. You have absolutely no pressure on them. You're not there to eventually touch them. If you can, take the idea of touching them right out of the realm of a goal. Just be like, you see a dog that's sitting over there just looking out at the world, just go sit with them. See what they're seeing. Be with them. Okay. Number 2, this is a favorite of mine, but I'm going to bring it again, is to make predictable patterns and be consistent, right? So fearful dogs, they love and crave predictability, right? And I've talked about this on a number of occasions, but you need to be predictable in your energy. You need to be predictable in your voice. You need to be predictable in your routines. I like to create like rituals in the dog's day, so that they can have an expectation of how their day is going to shape out to be, and that needs to be predictable, because safety for those dogs comes from patterns, right? That's what helps to make the dogs feel safe. When they can start to put together the pattern, like, oh, okay, every morning I wake up and I go for a walk around the block, or oh, okay, every morning I wake up and I have my breakfast and then I go out into the backyard and then I go for my walk. Oh, every day I get up, I do, once we start to create this pattern, we create the pattern of predictability. That's what allows our dogs to settle in and to actually be calm. They start to feel safe in their environment. So being predictable and starting to create patterns is one of the greatest gifts you can give them. That's why it's so challenging whenever, and I mean, it's good in theory, but I know lots of people that are like, I'm going to adopt a dog, so I've taken 2 weeks off of work. That's great. The only problem is that when your dog's going to settle in those 2 weeks in the pattern of what it's like to have you home, and then you're going to go back to work. And then they're going to be like, what is this new crazy world I live in where nobody's here? So while it is nice to think about and be like, I'd like to be at home with the dog so that they can settle in, we also want to consider that we got to create some really predictable patterns for them. So maybe that means we still create your home, but we still start to create a pattern of, you're going to leave for a little bit, and here's what you need the dog to know what to do while you're gone. All of those things. Being predictable. Oh, sorry, I'm going over my notes. And I went, like this is the hardest one. You have to be predictable in your emotions. I know that part's hard. That part's hard right now. I know, but as best as you can, right? We have to be predictable in our energy, our intent, our emotions, all of those things. And well, that's challenging in today's day and age. Give it a go. Let me know how you're doing. If you've got some tips, let me know. Share them with us. Share them with others. If you figured out a way to be emotionally calm in today's environment, then please share with the group. All right, so that's number 2, be predictable. And then finally, number 3, of course, is mirroring or be with, right? And if you haven't heard be with, you know that I talk about this all this time, but this is the sitting nearby, being quiet, no agenda, and then try to match your breathing, your posture, all of those things, mirror those things. Because this sort of intentional stillness invites an almost co-regulation with the dog. And this idea of, I don't need you to come to me, I'll meet you where you are in the quiet. And there's something so peaceful about that. There's something so peaceful about being with and be quiet. And I would say this for someone who's brand new, or a dog that's brand new, or a relationship that's brand new. Be with is really beneficial. Be with really gives your dog a sense of who you are. It allows you to get a sense of who the dog is. It's this idea of just hanging out with absolutely no agenda, like completely no agenda. Like there's no expected outcome at the end. You know, quite often we do this, like, I'm going to sit with you and calmly with you and whatnot, so that I can eventually pet you, so that I can put a leash on you, so that I could whatever. Don't do that. Just sit. The outcome is just being with them, just being present with them. And then try that mirroring stuff. Just try to take some deep breaths and just really kind of be in the stillness with the dog. And see whether or not they choose to sort of connect with you in that way. And how they choose to connect with you is you will see them sort of mirroring up with you. It's quite beautiful. All right, so I think that's it. I know this is kind of a short one today, but let's go through them again. 3 unexpected ways to bond with a fearful dog. Number 1, shared orientation, where you look where they look, right? You notice what they're noticing. You're not staring at them going, what are you doing now? We're actually trying to build a partnership that says, I see it too, and I'm with you. Number 2, of course, is predictable patterns and being consistent. So getting into that pattern of predictability, creating rhythms and rituals that your dog can count on. And then number 3, being with and doing that silent mirroring that allows you to just kind of match your breathing and your posture, intentional stillness, co-regulation, all that great stuff. Because bonding really isn't about doing more, right? Like when we want to bond with the dog, it doesn't mean we have to do more things. It just means you have to be, being with more, trying to create a space that lets the dog lean in, right? Something like, you know what I'm saying? Right? I think it's important to note too that, if you are working with a fearful dog and they do get close to you, closeness isn't consent. Okay? It's not consent. You know how many times I've seen so many people wreck that moment where a dog comes close and then they're like, I want to touch you. It doesn't mean consent. So for dogs, permission matters more than proximity, right? You need to actually get their permission before you go, like, touching them and poking them and petting them. Smell my hand. That's kind of my final thought on that. Just kind of thought of that at the very end. All right, I think that's it for today, my friend. As always, if you like this kind of thing, be sure to hit the like and subscribe and rate and review and all of the things that you can do to help push the show out to more and more dog lovers like you and me. That is the ultimate goal. If you are looking for a free Facebook community to come and hang out and share your pup pictures and your stories, head on over to Facebook. Living Beyond Obedience is the group. And as always, if you're ready to take this thing to the next level and want to join us over in the Fearless Framework, like-minded community of dog lovers, all striving for the same thing, which is just understanding our dogs better and being better humans for them, then I encourage you to do that. Link is in the show notes for that. As always, my dog-loving friend, get out there today and be the person that your dog thinks you are, because your dog thinks that you are amazing, and so do I. Have a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye for now. Oh, and one more thing. This podcast is meant for entertainment and education purposes only and is not meant to replace hands-on professional training. If you're really struggling with your dog or the ability to say professional, oh, this got away with me. Please reach out to a professional in your area. All right, I think that's it. Bye for now.